Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Tech Tanks. I know it's been a few weeks since I posted a video. Hopefully they can start becoming more consistent now, scheduling and all that. Could be a bit of a pain in the butt. Anyway, um, in my video series where I'm trying to cover the CEH version 11, help anybody prepare for it that needs to, I do need to cover, of course, footprinting. That is, let me pull up the blueprint here. That is 21 footprinting and scanning and enumeration. So reconnaissance techniques is 21% of your test, which is huge. And roughly about 10 questions of that is going to just focus on footprinting, concepts, methods, things like that. So while 10 questions doesn't seem like a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, definitely we want to at least touch base on it, but that does also mean that this video will not be as hacking fun, so to speak, as some of the other videos that I made and will be making. But let's at least knock this one out real quick. Now, fair warning, I am not going to go over every part of um, the blueprint that is covered in that is part of footprinting, only because there's a lot, a ridiculous amount of possible tools and methods and things like that. But I'll cover some of the big things. My suggestion to you is to focus more on the concepts and methods of footprinting, not so much on the tools. Know a couple of them. Shodan's probably going to be or Shodan is probably going to be a pretty big one. Whois, of course, is huge. But beyond that, I wouldn't put too much emphasis on the tools. That usually doesn't make up a huge part of the test, except for like Nmap. That one's pretty big. And we'll go over that one when we go through the scanning network section, which will probably be the next video. But I may make a video on Nmap all by itself, just because, again, there's a lot. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started on footprinting. So with footprinting, there are two types of footprinting. You have active footprinting and you have passive footprinting. The best way to tell the difference between the two is passive footprinting can't really be tracked by your target, and active footprinting can. So if you interact with their website directly or anything like that, that is going to be active footprinting at that point. But if you're just doing Google searches, seeing the different information you can pull up about the target, that would be passive. So according to CEH, for what it's worth, passive footprinting is much more difficult to do, which I disagree with personally, but the reason why they view it as that it's much more difficult to do is because you're not actually getting anything directly from your target. So the quality of information is usually not as good, which is accurate, but passive footprinting, the goal is to just simply get information about them. So anyway, so if you come up to a question that asks, which footprinting method is more difficult, active or passive, the answer is going to be passive. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on some of the different things here. I already have some websites pulled up. You can probably see them down here. And we're going to be using a couple console tools as well, just to make sure we cover all of our bases. So first thing to know, the objective of footprinting, as told by CEH, there's actually 4 things that you're trying to do here. You're trying to know the security posture, reduce the focus area, identify vulnerabilities, and draw a network map. So yeah, there you go on that. A lot of fun. Different methods of doing it would be like social engineering, social networking, various web services, search engines, email footprinting, Whois lookup, DNS footprinting, network footprinting, blah, 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 lots of stuff. So, alright, one of the big ones that we are going to use, Google is your friend, right? We all love Google. You do, of course, also have Bing, Yahoo, Ask, AOL. I think it's pronounced Bay. I've never used that one, but I know that CEH mentions it. And then, of course, DuckDuckGo. So for Google, there's a few things. I mean, one thing is, let's say our target is Microsoft. Okay, we can just do search Microsoft. And lo and behold, we get lots of information. I blew this up. I'm hoping it's not too big. I'm using a new screen recorder, so I'll watch this video afterward. But unless it's terrible, I'm not going to remake it. Anyway, so you can find out things like store locations, but this is pretty broad. It's not going to help you a whole lot. So Google does have like advanced search methods and things like that. And with the advanced search methods, what's really cool about it is you can pull up some really interesting information. Now, I'm not going to go through all the types of, it's called Google hacking, because again, there is a whole lot. One example that I did want to show you, we're not even going to focus on Microsoft. We're going to just do this one here. We're going to do in title, intranet, in URL, also intranet, plus in text, human resources. So we have human resources intranet, University of Hawaii system, Kentucky Wesleyan College. Then this is just a random thing. But the point with Google hacking is you can make your searches extremely specific. You are able to look specifically for any type of web page you want, things like that. But to help you guys find kind of a good resource for this, where you can get your feet wet and see the different options, let's go to the Google hacking database. Okay, and they have different categories. I believe, if I remember correctly, all the categories that they have would be like footholds, files containing usernames, sensitive directories, web server detection, vulnerable files, vulnerable servers, error messages, files containing juicy info, files containing passwords, sensitive online shopping info. Trying to think. I think they have network and vulnerability data, advisories and vulnerabilities you can see on there, various online devices, pages containing login portals, and I think that's it. I could be wrong. You can always just search it. But anyway, so you can see where there's a lot of cool stuff here. You just like click that and you get information as far as for who made it, things like that. But yeah, there you go. So Google hacking database, it's part of the exploit DB. Really cool stuff. So definitely take advantage of it, and definitely look into it, because I'm pretty sure Google hacking is going to be a big thing that you're going to see when you take your test. Just as a bit of a fair warning and an FYI, hint hint, nudge nudge, double wink. Anyway, so with Google though, you do have other options as well. You're not just limited to Google hack, or like using the Google hacking methods. You have advanced searches, and there's two ways to get to this. One is just go to google.com, go to settings, click on advanced search, and you're here. Okay, and you have the important words, exact words and quotes. So this actually can help you with the Google hacking if you can't remember all of the terms and all that. This is another way to get pretty darn close to it. You can also, of course, just type in, just get rid of that, or the google.com advanced underscore search, bring you to the same spot. There is an option for an advanced image search. So that one kind of does the same thing, but it's more focused on the images itself. Okay. So these are really good for being able to pull specific information about your target, and definitely a huge thing when it comes to footprinting. So now the next thing that I did want to kind of go over, sorry, I'm pulling up my notes here. That's how much information there is to cover on this. And I'm trying to make it quick because footprinting is probably one of the most boring topics ever. But it is extremely important when you're trying to, get information on a target. Um, it's not something you're going to see so much when you do hack the box and things like that, but when you actually do legit pen testing, ethical hacking of any type, you're going to be doing a lot of footprinting before you actually start getting into the system. Reason being is you can get a lot of great information. Sorry, coffee. You can get a lot of great information without alerting the target. And a lot of times with like red teaming, for example, the goal is to see how much you can do and how much you can get without getting caught. And that's the idea behind it. And this is a great way to start because in a lot of cases you can find, obviously IP addresses are pretty simple, typically, especially if they're hosting a website. But you can also get things like what operating system they're running and things like that. So real quick, we did need, of course, go over Shodan. So this one it's an Internet of Things search engine, and it checks for devices. So you'll see that I have a couple search histories on here. We're only going to see the one right now. All right. So we'll go ahead and look for, for something like this. Takes a minute or two. But anyway, what this basically does is it just crawls the web and it literally finds anything connected. And what's really cool about this is you can click on it, like click on the IP address, or sometimes the name that pops up, and it tells you ports that are open, it tells you, the services, potentially vulnerabilities, web technologies. I mean, a lot of information here, and it's on a map. Now sometimes it doesn't ping it, sometimes it does ping it, kind of depends on the day, but you're not limited to simply talking about an Internet of Things. Like another thing that I did want to show you real quick though is like, just typing in camera. Okay, we'll give it a minute, and while that's pulling up, you can also search places. So like here we have remote support portal, we have big content, then now we're back to IP addresses. So we'll come back to this in a minute. Actually, we'll do it now, never mind. But anyway, this is a great place to get a lot of information about your target, especially if they are running cameras and things like that. But like if I type in Microsoft or Microsoft.com, okay, and keep in mind one thing is if you're concerned about querying Microsoft.com or anything like that, if you're pretty new to this, this is open information. I mean, we're not doing anything against their system or anything like that. So don't worry about what you type in here. Okay. So we'll just do, I don't know, let's just go ahead and do checking your credentials. Okay. Now obviously we're in California. Ports. Lots of information here. So anyway, Shodan, definitely know it, but it again is specific for like Internet of Things. That's basically where its big focus is. Okay. Let's see here. Now, what else did I want to go over? Let's see, we have, okay, let's go ahead and jump to Netcraft. Okay. So Netcraft is a great way to be able to find what the site is running, who's running it, that kind of information. If you have an account with them, it also can do, it can get you a lot more information, but I'm not going to pay for an account to show you guys. You're welcome to do that. You can get a free trial for a little bit. I've already done it, so can't do it again. But again, targeting Microsoft. So, and this is listed as a way to get subdomains and things like that. So I personally don't like Netcraft for that. I prefer Sublister. That's my personal preference, but I'll show you guys that one in a moment because I believe it's also mentioned on the CEH version 11. Anyway, As you can see, you can pull some IP addresses, you can figure out the hosting company, and with the hosting company, you can find out the OS and all sorts of good stuff here. Again, if you have an account, you can get more information with it, but Netcraft is a tool that I would definitely just keep in mind, and it's just part of the footprinting for I think it's categorized under the footprinting with web services. So there you go. Now to get subdomains, there's two methods that I want to show you guys, because I can't really show you guys Netcraft because I don't have an account, and I don't plan on having an account with them. I don't really have a need for it. Anyway, we're going to go back to here, and we're going to just go to google.com again, and I'm going to put in site, Microsoft, and then I'm going to put, .com, and then in URL, and this is a cool little trick. Just do www. We have support, forums, my Ignite, blogs, adoption. Interesting. News. So you notice we're all of a sudden getting all these subdomains that are popping up. So that's one easy way to do it. Another fun way, it is called I always mess this part up. Oh boy, see? Sublister. Okay. And just running it with the H or the help flag, you're able to see what it is that needs to be done. Now you can brute force, just run the domain. Now the simple way to run it is to just do we can do sublister with the domain and just do Microsoft.com. And I'm going to go ahead and increase the threads. No, I'm not. Let's just run it like that. That's the most basic run on it. It takes a minute to do. Kind of depends on how much is out there. You can specify the search engine that you want to use, but if you don't, it runs everything. But all of a sudden, if you look here, we have all that. I don't know if it's still going or not, but as you can see, I got a huge amount here. Wow. Okay. So yeah, there you go. Sublister is a great way to get your subdomains pulled out of a target. And I guess for, just in case anybody doesn't know what a subdomain is, your domain name, for Microsoft would be like Microsoft. That is the domain, Microsoft.com. A subdomain is any part of the domain that comes before it. So like, I think I've done a Hack the Box video where you saw like admin dot whatever the domain was for the system I was hacking, and that would be a subdomain. So all of these are associated to Microsoft.com. So just for thoroughness here on this one, because again, I love Sublister. You can even specify ports. So if we use our example from before, the Microsoft.com, and then let's just say we want it to be specific to port 80, just as an example. We're probably still going to get a ridiculous amount, but that's okay. While it's running, I'm going to mute you for a second and enjoy my coffee. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just stop it here, just so you could kind of see what that was running. Okay, and then again, we're going to this time do get rid of the port 80 part, and we'll just do like engine. We'll just do Google. Now it's only going to use Google, which will probably still pull up a whole lot. Okay, now Sublister, just so you know, is a Python script. No, didn't pull up anything. There you go. But Sublister is a Python script. Now, if you're running Parrot, you can actually just run the apt install and then just put sublister, and that'll work just fine. Um, and then all you're going to do at that point is just run the command sublister. But if you go through like GitHub and you download the actual script itself, then just know it's Python. Run it that way. All right. Anyway, that was a bad example. Let's try. I don't know. Let's see. Do Yahoo. So one thing that I have found. Oh, wow. Search engines aren't liking me now. One thing that I have found is that that some of these search engines, such as Google, they if you do too much of this, they'll start blocking your requests for a little bit. Um, I'm not sure why. I mean, maybe they're concerned that you're doing something naughty. But anyway, uh, if you start going through this, just don't specify it. You should still be able to get your results because, for example, I don't think like Baidu or ThreatCrowd, I don't think they ever really block anything. But there you go. See, still got a lot. But just keep that in mind with Google. If they start like filtering it'll go away soon. But I also do recommend don't use your personal account for this sort of thing because I don't know what they really connect with it, and I don't want them to cause me any grief with my typical Google account. So anyway, all right. So real quick, I'm gonna just go over it. I'm not going to hop onto a social media website for multiple reasons, but Facebook, you would be surprised what people will post on there and what is public. Same with Instagram. My favorite one recently, people have been getting their COVID vaccines, depending on when you're watching this in the past. They've been getting their COVID vaccines. And my favorite thing that they've been posting up is they will post their little vaccination um, slip thing, which contains your date of birth, your full name, and just to kind of point that part out, that is useful information. Um, and people don't realize kind of how easy it is to use social media to really steal your information. And it's not hard at all because people share it. But typically when you call a credit card company, for example, they ask you things for like your mother's maiden name, your date of birth, the last four of your social. Now, in many cases, you can actually get out of giving the last four of your social by simply stating, I really don't like giving that information over the phone. And then they'll ask you one of the other three questions. So typically they want two of three verified. So like, for example, they may ask, hey, what's the last four of your social and your mother's maiden name? And you just tell them, I'm not comfortable giving out my social security number. Can I give you some other information? And they'll typically say, verify your date of birth and your address or something like that. Again, not hard to get. So as far as for the date of birth, we already got that information from them posting up their little card thing. And then as far as for mother's maiden name, Facebook has this really, really cool thing where a lot of people will mark their family, right? And so if you mark family, it's not really all that hard to start tracing that. Now, for those of you who go, well, I don't mark my family, that's okay. A nice little Google search will help me find it anyway. I'm sure at some point you've all Googled your name. Let's do John Smith here, which I know is probably like the worst example to do, but let's see. And then we'll just do people search. Okay. These pages, most of them you have to pay to really be able to get the information, but you'd be surprised what they still release just in general. And check your name, Google your name, Google your friends, and go through those people searches, and just see what all is connected. It was crazy when I searched my friend's brother one time just to kind of demonstrate this to them, and my name was connected to them. You know, it's basically it's what is it? One of them said like possible associates, and my name was connected to them. So just keep in mind that you know it's easy to find your mother's maiden name and things like that, and if you're willing to pay for the information, it's even easier to get. But if you're cheap like me and unwilling to pay for it, it takes an extra 15 minutes of your life to find it. So anyway, social media websites are huge for that sort of thing. Um, let's see here. So, oh, next thing I wanted to go over was job sites. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? I think I put it on this one. I did. No, I didn't. Where did I put it? Oh, right here. So this one I just did a system admin jobs in Texas. Now, I don't know how well you can see this. Let's see. Probably not very well. Let me go ahead and zoom it in. There we go. I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can. I don't need to. Never mind. Maybe I do. Let's make it a little bit bigger just in case. There we go. All right. All right. With the job searches, and again, this applies to everything. I like Google. If you go to like LinkedIn job searches, Indeed, what is it, Dice, all those other ones, um, you can search your target. So in this case, I didn't pick a specific target. I just typed in a type of job. Reason being is I wanted to show you this part. Strong with Linux, Windows, and VM system administration. So what we know is they're running Linux, they're running Windows. Now that's not too useful. I mean, there's a lot of different types of Linux, a lot of different versions of Windows, all that. That is true. But it's just you got to go through this a little bit more and kind of see what all's available. But I mean, RPM, Yum Package Management, Red Hat Satellite. Kind of think we know what version of Linux now. Let's see, they're running VMware, all that kind of stuff. So you can see where it's like I'm starting to get quite a bit of information about the target here. Let's check this one here. That one doesn't provide a whole lot of information. What about Texas Southern University? So, and while I'm searching for another one here, because I know I came across another one that provided quite a bit of information. So some of you may be thinking, well, it's like, well, there's no way to avoid this because, you need to put your, what kind of qualifications you need into your job application. That's not entirely accurate. I mean, systems administrator, familiar with various types of operating systems. I mean, because for the most part, system administrators, it's pretty much what is it? I think Microsoft owns something like 60 or 70% of the market. And if you put server administrator, okay, more likely than not, we're talking Linux. If not Linux, then it's going to be Microsoft. So I mean, you can really limit what you put in there, but still be able to get people who are qualified. Now, another thing is, listing you have Windows, is that the worst thing in the world? No. What's worse, and I'm trying to find it because I know I saw it on here. It was pretty funny. They actually listed what versions of Windows they're running. I think they had Red Hat Linux, right? Windows Server 2012 and beyond. So that gives us what, two options: 2012 and 2019. So I mean, that's kind of thing. Oh, VMware. So, and that's the thing, guys. You want to be careful how much you're sharing. And I mean, you could really have a heyday with this and just go through and search jobs out there and see who releases what kind of information. So, is this on its own a terrible thing? No, but remember, guys, it's all about the big picture. Okay, if I get that you're running a a Linux server, and it's like be familiar with Apache and Apache and PHP, and it's like okay, almost seems like you're going to be building a LAMP server. So now I know what you're going to be looking at, and then it's like okay, what version of Apache are they running? Well, that's not too hard to actually find out, unless they set it up securely. So again, guys, it's all about just considering the overall picture of what it is that you are making available online. That's the whole thing with the footprinting. Okay. So let's see, we've covered Google hacking, covered Shodan, covered Netcraft, covered the job site as one example. I mean, we could go over, what is it? I think one of the things the CEH brings up is the deep and dark web footprinting. I don't have a Tor browser installed on here. Actually, I probably do. Never mind. We'll go over that later because I want to show you guys also how to install a Tor browser. So I'll do it on my Ubuntu system. But all right, so this is what I wanted to show you, Census. Okay, let's go back to our report here. Oh, whoops, no, I didn't want to do that actually. No, wait, wrong one. Sorry, I wanted to go back to Shodan. All right, we're going to take this IP address. Okay, maybe not. Hey, look, an IP address. I'll just use that one. Okay, let's do that. All right, so Census. So you can read all about it here. It's pretty cool. I really like Census because it provides you with a whole lot of information about your target, such as operating system and things like that. So I'm going to just go ahead and search this IP address. I can't remember what it's from. But let's see. Oh, it's in Taiwan. I think this was from a previous Shodan search that I had done. But it provides you with ports that are open. So this one's running, looks like email. We got our simple mail transfer protocol. Did a banner grab here. So depending on what you put in here, it will tell you, the type of operating system and things like that. Let's see. Let's just type in a IP here. Whoops. And no, this is not my IP address, so don't even try. Oh, look at that. We got SSH on here. MySQL. Cool. Okay. So, I know I said it would tell you the operating system, and I haven't seen it yet, but you have to get the right IP. Oh, we can just jump straight over to Whois. What is this nonsense? There we go. So some of this stuff you will need to have an account for. Maybe that's why it's not showing me the operating system. That's okay. Anyway, Census provides a great deal of information. So basically, you can put in an IP address, and it will tell you all sorts about the IT infrastructure of whatever it is you put in. So combine that with the Shodan or with the Whois lookup that we're about to look into. Combine it with those, and again, the more the merrier. And we are not directly interacting with the target at this point. So keep that part in mind. This is just doing it through generalized search engines and things that are available online. So like I said, guys, as far as for passive footprinting, you can get a lot of information, and it really doesn't require a whole lot of effort on our part. So it's not all that hard. It's just you don't get the direct information from the target. So let's see here. So I covered that. I want to cover Whois. I like Whois. So I haven't gotten an update lately, but I do know that there was a huge thing, especially with some of the laws that have passed in like Europe and things like that, with information being released about people. I know there was a huge concern as far as for Whois and what's going to happen with it, but as of right now, it's still up and running. I don't know if they found a way around it or whatever the case may be, but we still have our friend here. And there's two ways to use Whois. I'm going to go ahead and our target is Microsoft. Not really. I love Microsoft. But All right, Microsoft.com. This gives you all the information you could want about the domain name, who's running it, how many days old it is, which that is old. Um, in tech, that is old. Okay. Anyway, IP changes for registrars. Let's see, hosting history, 3 changes on 4 unique name server. Microsoft official homepage. Whois record. Blah, 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 blah. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is there are times you can get phone numbers, email addresses for who's running it, and things like that. Now, you can pay to not have that information released, or if you're having a third-party company host it for you, it's kind of like, who cares? You know, if they want to release their information, that's on them. But if you are hosting your own and you're registering your own domain name and all that, keep in mind you can get a lot of information off of the websites. So, like for example, let me see here. Sorry, I didn't want to cough in your ear. The other way to do this, with with Linux systems, you can have this on your system. You can do the Whois, right? And this is pretty darn easy. You can just do Whois Microsoft.com. That keeps it really, really simple. Okay? And you'll notice we have a phone number. Now, again, this is not anybody at Microsoft. Okay? Can guarantee it. But let's go ahead and do like a Whois. I think it's hackthebox.eu. Registrant not disclosed. Well, that's pretty darn smart of them. Okay, and then we got, looks like the name servers are running on Cloudflare, or running from Cloudflare. So you can see where this provides a lot of information, but you can also see a huge difference in, what's released on this one versus Microsoft. Now there's a lot of different reasons, so keep in mind it's not always, Microsoft is just not worried about security. It's, part of it, it's all about what you need to secure and things like that. So these guys are probably going to take a little bit more precautions, but also keep in mind their location. Okay, Europe has a lot of different rules regulating that now, so there you go. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. Let me just double check my notes here. Yeah, I think we're pretty good here. As far as for countermeasures, I think that's listed on here, right? Let me check. Yeah, countermeasures. Countermeasures. Careful what you release. Okay, that's kind of a no-brainer. Definitely be mindful of social engineering. And if you want a great book on social engineering, you need to read. I'm trying to find it here. Hold on, I have it. I have this book, I promise. Somewhere. Man. Okay, when you have this many books, that's a problem. Hold on. It was written by Kevin Mitnick. We're going to Google search it. Kevin Mitnick, Social Engineering. I think that's it. Let's see. I'm going to zoom out a little bit because this is starting to get ridiculous. Yeah, The Art of Deception. I think this is it. Yeah. So I recommend reading this book. It is a fantastic read. I'm not going to lie to you. And it is absolutely hilarious. And if you don't know who Kevin Mitnick is, shame on you. Google him. Guy, his thing was definitely social engineering was his forte. But this guy, like this whole book tells about stories where people are, like how they socially engineered, why it worked, things like that. So this book is a great way to understand that a lot better. But definitely be mindful of social engineering. That's a huge countermeasure for this. Encrypt your information. don't share too much on social media. Social media is not a bad thing, but it's just about what you share, guys. Um, like in all seriousness, you don't need to be posting your birthday, your address, that kind of information. I mean, that's not overly hard to get, but like connecting with family, things like that. Be on each other's friends list, but you know, don't necessarily label family. But definitely don't post your your shot records also. Um, but you can opt out for, or you can opt for the privacy option for the Whois database. Uh, yeah, I mean use you know TCP and IPsec filters. Um, just basic defense in depth, guys. So if you need more on footprinting, just leave me a comment and I'll try to cover more. There's a lot of tools I didn't cover, and guys, again, I mean this is such a huge area of information. I definitely I covered the gist of it. But if you need more, just leave comments. I'll go ahead and cover more for you. But the next round, we're going to get into scanning networks, and yeah, we're going to have multiple operating systems pulled up at that point. So if you don't have a lab setup, definitely do one. I'm not planning on making a video on how to set up a lab. There's a lot of videos out there for that already. So, but if you guys want me to help you set one up as far as for like using VMware or something like that, again, leave comments and I can go ahead and make a video on setting up your lab. You want to run at least Parrot or Kali or both. You want to run a Linux system like Ubuntu, and you'll want to have at least one Windows system running. I recommend having a Windows Server running and also having like a Windows 10 and what I listed before. So that way, the idea, guys, is you want to be able to simulate as much as possible when it comes to prepping for your CEH. So like my lab right now, I have Windows 7, Windows 8.1, Windows Server 2012, Windows Server 2019. I have Kali, Ubuntu, Parrot, and then I have them all in their own internal network. Obviously, this isn't that Parrot system. All right, so, all right, guys. Yeah, that wraps up this video at what, 40 minutes? 42 minutes. All right. So we're gonna wrap it up at just before we hit the 43-minute marker. Apologize for the long video, but it was necessary. All right, guys. Have a good one.